Welcome to the Life You're Made For with me, Dr. Heather Penny. We're going to be having conversations that talk about us spiraling up versus spiraling down, because we all want to be living lives that are about thriving, not just surviving. This is the life you're made for. So let's get going. Hello. We are so excited to have Erica here today. Hi, Erica.
Hey, so good to see ya.
Yes, you too. We had so much fun on your podcast. And remind me the name of your podcast.
The Faith Inspired Podcast.
Oh, I love that one. We really connected on some fun ideas and some poignant thoughts that made us both slow down and think through some things. And one of the things I picked up from you, Erica, is just your contemplative nature and spirit, which is the contemplative in me saw the contemplative in you and the importance of slowing down and resting. So I think I just want to have you introduce yourself to the audience and say who you are, a little bit of what you do, and really what you're passionate about.
Yeah, so I'm Erica Dvorak, and I am the founder and creative director, which are two fancy names to say I do and wear all the hats in my company.
Yep.
And Faith and Gather is a lifestyle media brand for specifically Christian women to live less stressed, more joy-filled lives and really walk in their faith boldly and be obedient to where God is calling them. And each of us have our own specific call and our purpose. And so just encouraging them in that walk. And I do that through the Faith Inspired Podcast, which is that weekly podcast. I also do one-on-one life and business coaching. I'm really going more towards the business coaching now. I have a background with a decade and a half of marketing and communications experience. So my heart is for like branding and voice and really helping women who are in Christian media or who have their own type of ministry. And I'm really helping them get off the ground and own that voice and who they are serving and what they're doing and really get out there in the world to share their message. So that's something that I'm really pursuing right now. I also have a course called the Stress to Joy Transformation course, which I'm sure we'll get into some of my story here. But the course itself walks women through about the past 4 years of my life and what my husband and I have been doing, how we've transformed our lives from just pure stress to more joy. And how we've done that, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, and all those different aspects. And so I walk women through that. And then I also have a journal that I created that started to go along with the course. And then I just ended up creating it because I thought it was just such a good piece for anybody to use. And that's called the Daily Reflections Journal. And it's really a 90-day guided journal for people to just stress less and focus on their goals and grow closer to the Lord. And so those are my passions. That's what I love doing. And I think a fun little thing that I'm venturing in and really researching and being bold about that I've been using your 3C journaling for is I'm going to be building a community for those women that I serve and figuring out what that looks like and really helping support them in their small businesses and just be a united front with each other. So that's a little bit about me professionally. And then personally, which is also a huge part of my life, I am a mom of 2 young kids under 5 years old. And so I am joyful, yet very tired and exhausted a lot of the days. But they've been such a blessing to me, more than I ever could have imagined. And then I have a husband, Matt, as well, who's just such a beautiful partner of mine who I couldn't have dreamed up someone better for me. So it's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Erica. I can see how busy you are, but I also see how intentionally you live. So I'm just hearing it all and smiling as I listen to you, because I can see that you're someone who really likes the activity and the dreaming and the vision, but you know how to put it into play. And then you opened up with your faith. And that's part of where I think we connected. I opened my book in the introduction. I say, I don't talk a lot about it, but I say my faith is important to me. And then I move through the 3 C's throughout the book. But what I like is this, how we make our faith applicable to day-to-day living. And I think that's where I really connected with you. This isn't about proselytizing. It's not about getting someone to sign up for a religion, so to speak, or anything like that. It's like, well, how is your faith working for you? And in those hard moments, How's it working for you? How's it getting you more clarity, confidence, and courage? Because I think a faith that really works should be exponentially growing our life, but more importantly, growing our joy and our contentment and our peace. So thank you so much for being on my show today, because I want to dive right into that. And as you shared your personal life, I just found myself grinning, going, oh, she's got the young kids. Mine are on the other end of the spectrum where they just did empty nest. So I feel a little bit giddy, like a kid in a candy store after I grieved them leaving, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got all this time. But I'm kind of getting myself into trouble of just pushing through. So I think that's where I want to start, is this idea of the me retreats. And I think that's where we connected. And you need the me retreats and the me time on your end of the spectrum of young kids. Ironically, I need it as much on my end because of all the projects I'm getting to say yes to now, that I don't have this mom energy that I'm focusing on quite as much. And I'm getting to really enjoy different aspects of my career. Let's dive in there and start there. Tell me a little bit about where that resonated with you last time we talked and where that took you.
Yeah, so I have always had this idea of a me retreat in my head. And we had talked about this on my podcast, how I felt a little selfish thinking that way. My husband would always ask me, what do you want for Mother's Day? Or what do you want for your birthday? And I would always say, I just want a hotel night alone. I'll be alone for a day and do what I want to do. And, enjoy those finer things in life that you don't get to with children, or just when you're with a partner for a long time, you end up compromising on things that you want to do, whether it's like, going to the park and you really want to go shopping, or, those kind of things. And so I felt guilty about it. And after speaking with you, I was able to go confidently to my husband and say, see, Heather said that this is something that you should do. I'm not crazy to want this for myself. Yeah. And so, so that was a beautiful blessing to really have you give me the permission slip to do that, because it was something that was always on my heart. And so my me retreat, it wasn't as long as I wanted. It was just one night. I would recommend, if people do it, to do two, because one just didn't seem long enough for you, really, at least for my brain, to really unplug and recharge. But
I've experienced the same thing. You trying to sneak away with one night, but you need that one night just to let down, don't you?
You do. And you need a full day, with hotels, the way it is you can't check in until 3. And so I had worked, until about 3:00 that day. So it really, ends up being less than 24 hours. And so you need those 2 nights. But we were lucky enough where I was able to stay at a really nice hotel here. I live in the Twin Cities, and we used our points, so it didn't really cost us any money, which was a really nice pro to that. But honestly, I just relaxed and enjoyed myself and did the things that I don't get to do very often. I am a person who is more introverted by nature. I love to be extroverted. I love to be with people. I love to talk with people, but my recharge time is in peace and quiet and reading and, watching shows by myself with no one talking. And I don't get that. And up until about 3 months ago, my mom lived with us for 3 years. And then we also had our dog. And within a month, my mom moved out, and then we lost our dog. And so I've had more time since then. But I mean, it's been 3 years of constant noise in our house with 2 young kids, a dog, a mom, and my husband. And so it was so needed. And so I spent time, I planned out my bag. I went and got some fun things like some face masks and some foot masks and all these things that like moms with young kids don't get to do. And I spent time just pampering myself, doing a DIY pamper fest in my hotel room, and read my book and watched TV and really enjoyed a meal that like I always love. I'm a salad gal, so I love like those big salads. So I went to a place that had all of that my kids would just not enjoy. And I really, and then I spent time, as a faith woman, just in prayer and reading my devotional and really thinking through like, Lord, what are my next steps? What do you want me to do? And so having that introspective reflection time as well. So it was so life-giving. But again, I could have gone for those 2 days.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I love that. You're a little bit unnerved that first day, and also almost giddy with options. And then after that, you realize, to your point, that full day allows you to go, hey, I can just totally let down because I've got another night here where I'm going to then wake up totally refreshed. And you never know where it's going to take you. Were you surprised? I know I've been surprised in many of my me retreats, but were you surprised at where it took you, and B, what you got out of it?
Yeah, I think I was surprised where it took me is I thought I would want to explore a little bit more. And
Mm.
honestly, I was like, no, I just want to be in the hotel room. I just want to kind of cozy up. And they had robes, which like that's
Oh,
my thing at
yes.
hotels. Like if there's
Yeah.
a robe, I am giddy. I am
Yeah.
so excited. And so I like plopped myself in that robe and, just enjoyed my time. So there was plenty other things that I could have done that would have, been joy giving to me.
Yeah.
But what I needed was just that rest time. And I will say, I also took a very long walk and then also a run in the morning. Took a walk the night before and a run in the morning just to get into
Mm-hmm.
nature and just
Mm.
breathe and move my body. And that was really helpful too.
It's so beautiful. I think what I love hearing you say is this permission to luxuriate in who you are. And particularly as women, but I don't want to even make it too gender specific. I've seen this both with men and women, but for some reason, women, I think a part of it because we're doing a lot of the caretaking, but we have a very narrow permission for us. Like, well, when the kids are down, then I'll take an hour for myself. Or when they've left empty nest, the house. So 18 years, like I won't have anything for myself for 18 years. So I've heard all this. In fact, I saw a funny post yesterday. It just made me chuckle. It was an exchange between a husband and wife. And he said something like, what do you want for tonight? And she returns with, I want a big dish of pasta and I want to eat it alone in silence.
Yes.
I thought the bar has gotten so low for us as women sometimes. And I remember one time going, I just want to go to Target and read the labels and like not be interrupted. That's when you realize, wow, the bar's gotten so low where I just want to be able to take a shower in peace, or I want to be able to sit down to a hot meal. These were some of the things that were hitting me. And I want to say, those are flags. Those are flags, people, that are telling us we get to have more, but we've kind of scrunched ourselves into a tiny little margin of what we get to give ourselves. This is really a powerful opportunity to start giving yourself exactly what you need and give yourself that permission to say, I'm worth it. And truly, I will be a better human, a better mother, a better wife, a better friend. If you're not even married or have kids, you still need these me retreats. So I guess I want to speak a little bit to some of the effects of that after getting back the next several months. What was some of the fumes, so to speak, of the me retreat that you got to live in?
Yeah, I think initially, to be expected, I felt refreshed and renewed and just came back a better mom and a better wife and had a better mind frame for the things that I was approaching. I was more excited about the things that, for work or whatever was on my plate. And so I had that approach. I think it's also a great reminder. So, you say the shower thing. I was frantically getting a shower in before this podcast recording because I get like 1.5 a week because I'm just so busy with my kids.
Yeah.
And, I was starting as I was like in the shower, I'm like, wow, why am I so stressed out? Because I had added a marketing client this week and I'm prepping for some podcast recordings and it's just a heavy week. And I was like, I had to pause and think through the 3 C's and then also like that me retreat mentality of like, I have control in this area right now for the most part, especially for like where my anxiety level is on what I'm doing and the stress level that I'm feeling. And so what I had decided, it was again, funny that you mentioned the pasta. What I'm going to do at some point today is literally crawl up on the couch, grab the remote, turn on just a show that brings me joy and really is like, nothing that I would have to use my mind for and be, I'm thinking like maybe an old school one that brings me back from my younger days and crawl up with my bag of scoop chips and my little cup of salsa and just sit there and eat my chips and salsa for a half hour. And normally I would feel really bad about that. And I do feel a little bit of guilt because there's my husband who doesn't have the flexibility. He's in a corporate environment and he's not sitting there eating chips and salsa, watching a show during the day. But, he also was not hearing our baby cry at 3:30 this morning and lost an hour of sleep. So, it's this give and take of all these things. And even if that wasn't the case, even if it wasn't like a tit for tat kind of thing, it's just like, I know what I need to show up as a better person. So when my husband and my kids come home tonight, like I will be a better Erica for them because I just took that half an hour to do something that's just going to fill me with joy. And sometimes it's doing something like watching a little show, or sometimes it's just laying on the couch in silence, whatever that is for you, like really figuring out what gives you that refreshment that you need in the moment. And it might change. The me retreat, I just needed alone time, me time. But today it's like, I need a little entertainment because I feel like I'm doing so much for everybody else that I need to do something that is for me in that moment. And that's okay.
Yes. Oh, I love that you brought that up, because I'm going to jump right in there and give a little examples of myself right now. I worked pretty hard all throughout the year and launched a couple books and everything else. And I could feel the strain coming up. And one of the things I talk about in my book is this idea of Thrive Plan: a daily, a weekly, a monthly, and an annual. Annual would be the me retreats. One of the things that I'm realizing I need at the pace at work that I have, and I do feel grateful to have the luxury of doing this, is I'm doing everything off of 11-month contracts now and just taking July as my sabbatical. So today's the only day I'm working with you, Erica. And I only do things that I love, which is like, I love podcasts. So I'm like, I'm just booking 3 podcasts today. That's all I'm doing. That's the only day I'm working this week, because it's mid-July. And I'm looking at this, and yesterday I could feel like, okay, I'm going to be engaging a lot with people. And I'm like you, I'm more of a, I recharge a little bit more on my own, but I think I'm more of an ambivert, that.
Yeah, same.
That I love people, and then all of a sudden I hit my limit, and it has nothing to do with them. I always want to joke, it's not you, it's me. Like, I just need to go and crawl up in my cave. And so yesterday it was hilarious. I spent time with one friend where that recharges me. We had a morning walk, and it was a deep conversation. And then I think it was a couple hours of that, and I loved it. And then after that, I think I laid on my bed and I thought, I'm just going to do this for like a couple hours. 6 hours later of getting lost into a show and realizing this is just what I need. It's allowing me to refuel, knowing what I have on the docket for the next day, but also recognizing this is part of what I need on some sort of a rhythmic cadence to pull back and let myself just get lost in it. And then even just this morning, being able to wake up and go, oh, I'm glad I didn't schedule anything early. I'm glad it's just being able to do it at the time that fits for me so that I can still enjoy my morning time. So I had to just kind of snicker as you were talking, going, I got to share this with the audience. Like, oh yeah, that was me yesterday, Erica. So I'm so cheering you on. Do that today and go take care of you.
I'm going to enjoy my chips and salsa on my show.
Yes. Good for you. What are some of the flags that you're noticing that you need the chips and salsa at the time? And for me, time on the bed and relaxing and getting lost in a show. What are some of the signs that you know? And you said something about the anxiety. Can you speak to that a little bit more so that our audience can feel that permission to know themselves and give themselves what they need?
Yeah, anxiety for sure. It's something that I've battled with my whole life. And I think as Americans, we do. It's just something that's kind of in our blood now. We have these goals that we're supposed to set and reach, and all these things that all these messages that have been put in our heads that we need to do. And so that's a constant battle that I'm fighting and working through, but it doesn't take away that sometimes those feelings of like, oh man, am I doing enough? Or, I haven't done XYZ today and I'm not going to hit my goals. And so a lot of anxiety is what I will feel, but I also feel inside like it's just this internal, like I feel like I'm a hamster on a wheel, and I just feel like I'm like just going inside, kind of crazy like. And so I'll start to feel that stress from, okay, like the hamster's running at top speed right now, and she just kind of needs to slow down a little bit. And I also see it externally where internally I get it, where I start to feel a little angry. And so I start to have just kind of these angry feelings, and it starts to come out to the people that I love, So like this morning I was snapping a little bit at my children, and, not so affectionate towards my husband, more like I just want to be alone and like closed off kind of way. And so when I start to see myself acting that way or feeling that way, that's a time for me to recognize like, okay, Erica, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. Like it's normal feeling. We have that as humans, but I have the ability to stop that. It doesn't have to be, oh, that's just a part of life kind of thing. It's like, no, I am human. I have those feelings, but I do have the ability to stop that in motion and correct it by doing something. And that something for me is making sure that I have that time, that me time, and I'm able to recharge and refresh. And so again, that goes back to like me feeling like I do have the permission for it because, I don't want to show up as that mom and that wife tonight that I was this morning. And so if I need to sit on the couch, eat the chips and salsa, like I'm going to do it. And my husband will actually be grateful for that. He would rather have that wife who took the half hour to do that than what he would get tonight. And so just internally, I feel just a miss, not, when your body is at peace, when you are running, just like a well-oiled machine and it just feels good and it feels natural. But when things are starting to break down, you start to feel it. You start to kind of bump along the road. And that's those are definitely the feelings I feel when I'm ready to break down.
Yeah. I love that you said that. I love that you said the half hour. What I like to really encourage people is that you never know how much time you need, but start playing with that. It's amazing what half hour can do. It's amazing what 2 minutes can do with just a shift away from your desk. I was even reading a study about the importance. No, it's my optometrist who was telling me about this yesterday. I took my son into the optometrist and she said, if you can take 20 seconds to look away from your computer every 20 minutes, it resets your brain. And I just was like, what? So I've never heard of something like that. But because of all the screen work, even optometrists are starting to say, we're not made to stare at a screen and do that. So she said, just set your timer for 20 minutes on your watch. And then once it dings, you look up 20 seconds. I was like, 20 seconds? That's all I need? She goes, it'll reset your brain so it doesn't get stuck in that rigid mode and it starts damaging your eyes. And I thought about that some when I thought, especially with all of us doing Zoom and everything else, learning what we need on that daily basis, whether it's 20 seconds of looking away from the screen, whether it's a half hour sitting down with your chips and salsa, whether it's 6 hours, because I've been pushing so hard all year around, I want to say, people, may you feel this peace that you get to find what you need and your life will not start moving into destruction or failure. I think that false belief of I can't slow down, the hamster on the wheel. That's what I feel like too. I can't slow down. Otherwise, I'm going to start failing or balls are going to start dropping or I won't be able to reach my goals. It's the antithesis is true. If you slow down and give yourself what you really need, your energy exponentially grows. And I'm thinking about, I'm like, wow, I thought it was going to be a half hour on the couch or the bed. It started out on the couch, Erica, and then moved over to the bed. But it was so peaceful for me. It's so relaxing. And I just found myself going, it's okay, Heath. It's okay. You haven't done this for so long. It's okay. And so at self-talk, you have to give yourself, especially if you're doing something out of the norm, is so important during the process. Because if you're sitting there on that, couch eating your chips and salsa and enjoying this really great no-brainer show, yet you're feeling guilty the whole time, it just completely erodes what that's able to give you. So I guess I want to ask you that. What are some things you kind of say to yourself when you can feel that guilt coming in? Hubby's going to be home, or I shouldn't be lying here for 6 hours, or, these things that kind of come in. What are some things you say to yourself?
Well, one of them is definitely, what I had said before, just I'm going to be a better wife and mom. And I know that it's not a lie that I'm telling myself or some kind of affirmation kind of thing. It's because it's been a learned experience type thing for me. I've done it so often that I do know that if I push through those feelings of like, oh man, I feel burnt out or I'm so tired, I know what that outcome is. I know what that's going to look like. And I know what it's going to look like if I actually take the time to rest. And I've noticed too, like last night I was just really, really tired. I had a long day. Again, this week's just a big jam-packed day or jam-packed week. And, I had the option to continue to work after the kids went to bed or just go to bed. And with the experience that I've had so much since I've been on this journey is that I know and I knew that it was better for me to not push through and get it done and do the thing that I was supposed to do and just wait to do it in the morning because I would be more refreshed. I would have, just that full night of sleep, which I am kind of laughing as I say, because I don't have that right now and I didn't get that, but I had more sleep than, I did last night. And so it just, and my brain, the way it works, and I don't know how other people work, but I'm definitely a morning person. And so by nighttime, I am spent, like my husband sounds like, okay, at nighttime, it sounds like you've had 3 beers because you just kind of get like, wobbly and mumbly and your body is literally shutting down. Like I can see your body shutting down. And so that's just the way I operate. And so even if I do work at night and I do decide that I'm a push through, I could have gotten done what I did that night twice as fast in the morning because at nighttime I'm rereading things like 20 times because my brain isn't working. The cylinders aren't firing. And so I know these things now. So I just tell myself like, hey, Erica, remember last time you pushed through? Like, this is what happened. Remember, last time when you said, oh, I just need a half hour, but then, you had shame and guilt about it and you didn't do it. And then your kids and husband showed up and you were just barking at him the whole time. Like, just take that time and do it. And so I think it really, if you're apprehensive of doing it, it's just that experiment process. I'm an entrepreneur. And so, we're always experimenting and figuring things out and it's uncomfortable, but that's how you learn. And so I now have these past experiences that have helped me learn. So when I come up against these times where I'm feeling guilty or like unsure of what I should do, I just go back to those experiences and just think it forward. Like, how am I going to feel?
Oh, I love that. I love that. It makes me, I think it gives us the permission to stay curious with ourselves. And particularly as all the seasons are shifting and changing, what worked in my 20s is not working in my 50s. What worked with young kids is not working with empty nest. I mean, it just, when you start that curiosity with yourself, it's going to serve you well all through life. And it's going to allow you to give yourself what you need. And I think looking at what you need on that daily basis and that weekly basis and that monthly basis and annual basis allows you to start creating this, almost these 4 baskets of what do I need today? Okay, you know what? That's not going to fill me up. What do I need this week? I think I need a half a day off, or I need an evening out with my friends, or something that allows us to start asking questions that says, hey, yeah, you're right. You're not really a lot of good past 3 p.m. When I start realizing that, I go, because I'm a morning person, I'm up at 5 or 6 and I love it. But past 3 p.m., I'm running out of words. And in fact, it can't be something that I can sit down and actually work or do things or even have professional conversations. I can have personal and fun conversations, but I have lost that ability to really stay in my zone. And I think once you start even realizing that, you just start kind of tweaking your life the way you need to and making sure that you're refining it and then wondering why you might be fatigued or tired, or one of the terms I use is I'm losing my words. I just I need some time and space. Well, of course, I use my words up all throughout the day. So learning what you need, I think, is so important.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm thinking from yesterday, working with a marketing client, especially right now, I'm working on some landing page content for them. So when I'm thinking through like words and really, doing that craft of like creating that message, that takes a lot of brain power for me.
Yeah.
And so I had been thinking about it for an hour or two, and I just felt myself getting into the slump. And I was like, okay, well, I could work through this. And in my head, I was like, man, but what I really need is just a walk. Like I knew instinctively like what I need is a walk. And so I just looked at my computer and I shut it down and I went for a half-hour walk, or even a 10-minute walk would have been fine. But, it wasn't even a permission thing. It was just like, I am shutting down and I'm not creating the quality work that I need to create for this client who's paying me.
Right.
And so I am doing them a service and myself a service by going out, doing a quick walk that's going to, help me with the brainstorming and help me just like, get my mind in a better place. And so, it can be physical things as well as like relaxing things to really get you moving and give yourself permission to do that.
I love that. And I think in the work that I do, I try and give people practices and almost disciplines, if you will, to create that safe, sacred space within ourselves to create the world we want, and helping people to really access their internal clarity, confidence, and courage, and not keep getting overstimulated by the rest of the voices in the world that's out there. And I think that's why I work a lot with clients with 3C journaling. And I guess that's where I want to pivot over to, because Erica, I love the fact that you took it and ran with it. It was one conversation. I mean, I coach clients through this for several conversations, but you totally got where I was going, where I said, well, here's something, a practice I do with my clients. And when you popped on the line earlier this morning, you said, oh yeah, I've been doing that. I thought, well, that's what I want to talk about. So let's dive in there a little bit. What's your understanding of 3C journaling? How are you using it? And how is that really impacting you to get your own clarity, confidence, and courage?
Yeah. So I guess I'll walk through each of the C's. The clarity, as we were talking through it. And so what I took as my understanding was really understanding where you are right now in the moment. And a lot of the times, and I'm not perfect about it, I don't use it every morning, but it's really a great tool when I use it, when I come across just times where I am unsure of my next action, or when I am having those anxious feelings, not necessarily because I'm like need to burn out and rest like we were talking about, but as an entrepreneur, I am constantly faced daily with decisions of what I need to make. And, you're there, you always have that overarching overview of like, oh, how do I make revenue? Or, all these things. You're thinking about every aspect of a company, which can be a lot. And so I use that clarity piece to really understand, okay, so why am I feeling what I am feeling right now? Because I think so often we just live life feeling what we're feeling, but never even understand where it comes from. And so it's helped me to really like stop and pause and think about, okay, clarity, I am feeling this feeling right now. And why am I feeling that way? And then using confidence to really correct that in a loving and positive way. And then, having the courage to take an action and a next step towards whatever it is. So for an example, one that I used this week was there's an individual in our local community that had said that he would be on my podcast, and he's just super, super busy. And I was really excited to have him on, but I haven't heard back from him in a few weeks. And I go to some of these coffee events, and he's mentioned how busy his schedule is and how he's been more intentional about saying no to things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, he already said yes, but he hasn't reached out. So now is he saying no by not reaching back out? And I was just, hesitant. And so I used the clarity, confidence, courage of like, okay, here's the situation on where I'm at. Like clarity is, I'm feeling these feelings. The confidence part was, well, he already said yes. Like he already said yes to it. So he hasn't said no. So I was afraid he was saying no and didn't know how to approach it. And then the actual confidence part was like, he said yes already. And so like, you already have the okay. And so my courageous step was to reach out to him again and send him that text and be bold, letting him know like, hey, this is when I'm doing my next podcast recording. Like I would love to have you be a part of that. And so that's just like a simple one. I mean, you can use it on so many different levels, but that was just a simple, easy one that framework helped me walk through just those anxious feelings that I was having that end up being roadblocks. So either big or small, but that was a roadblock for me because I'm coming up on my 100th episode here soon, which is a big deal in the podcast world. And I wanted him to be a part of that. And so I had to have that courage step to really move forward and take action. And so I continue to use that framework, the 3 C's, on all those different various levels. And it's been incredibly helpful for me. I think one, because it causes me to pause and really think rather than just, trudge over my feelings and just like blaze through it without even understanding like why I feel that way. And then just really getting to the heart of it and taking action so it doesn't keep me from doing really what I was created to do.
You nailed it. You totally nailed it, Erica.
Yay.
And I think that's what I was excited about is for my listeners here, just you have a quick tool. And I will journal maybe 5 minutes sometimes, a quick sentence on clarity. It's about what you're feeling, what you're seeing. maybe what you're anxious about, using some of the harder emotions to get you that clarity of what you're facing. I'm scared of moving forward. I'm scared of speaking up. I'm scared that this might not be the right way. You're just starting somewhere with your clarity. Confidence moves you right into, what are you believing? The false belief, I don't have what it takes, or nobody wants to listen to me. These are some false beliefs, or I'm not enough, or I can't hit that standard. These are false beliefs I hear all day long and feel myself. And then moving it into a true belief of, yeah, I get to reach out. Wait a minute. He already said he wants to hear from me. And then courage is just about taking action. So once you have that clarity and confidence, the courage piece is really connected to your action, and it can be pretty quick. So I find I spend the majority of my time in the clarity confidence piece. Courage, I know exactly what I need to do. And I think that's the flip side when we're talking about more of a contemplative, reflective lifestyle. I'm trying to tell people, whoa, slow down with the courage piece. Like, I have no doubt that you have the courage you need to move forward in this world. What I'd like to do is back you up and start talking about what's your clarity around this, what's your confidence around this. And to me, it's like giving person, and I talk about this in my book, give them a parachute before they jump. And a lot of times with a very active North American kind of culture, everybody's jumping left and right. And I want to go, whoa, that we're splatting, or we're missing our area, or we're clinging to the side of the plane because we don't want to jump because we don't have our clarity and confidence. I want to just help settle down that anxiety and say, listen, folks, we can do this better. Courage will come, but it will be so motivated by peace instead of this stress of, I just got to jump. I got to jump. So in my work that I do, I'm constantly assessing, well, yeah, let's do the courage piece. Let's take action. Like, that's all what I'm about. But I'm checking to see, is it coming from a place of inner peace and inner wisdom? If you have a connection with your higher power, like I do, is it coming from any connection with God or a space of love and light that's moving you forward in life? These are questions I'm trying to figure out and ask and help you answer before you take that courageous leap. So then courage gets to be something that's motivated from such a peaceful space. So great example on that, Erica. And I'll give my own personal example. It just happened to me yesterday. I haven't been journaling on it, but in my sabbatical, kind of taking these next several weeks off, it's being able to say, what's my clarity around the direction of my life and the work that I'm doing, and also my personal life? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? And this has just been noodling around in my mind, and I'm taking walks, kind of listening to, what do I want so that I can step into the life that I want? And I've been hearing this idea for months now about, I think I want to start doing a conference. I just wasn't ready to move on it because I was checking clarity. I was checking confidence. And then yesterday was my walk with my friend. I was like, she's actually the executive director of an organization. I kind of felt like I'll run this by her. It was such an easy conversation where she wants to partner with me in this conference. She's ready to go for it. And it's already like green light ahead, and it's coming from so much peace. Even to the point where she's like, what do you want to do? When do you want to start? I said, I don't know yet. Like, I'm on sabbatical, so let's just hang on there. I love that you love the idea. That's the first step. Now I'm giving myself the permission to say, maybe it'll be this fall, maybe it'll be next year, maybe it'll be 2 years from now. I don't know yet. So I'm kind of leaving it in that soft space to let it still be formed. But I was able to have that initial conversation, and I was able to move into that beliefs of, I think this is someone I think I would partner well with. How do I step into that space, but don't feel like I'm back in a corner or backing her in a corner? How do we kind of start that organic conversation? So it's still left undone, but it's giving it space to breathe and move. And I think that's where I loved your example, because I think that this awareness that you hold your own clarity, confidence, and courage, you took that and ran with it. I'm curious, just as a coach and a researcher, what made you realize, when we just talked about on your podcast, what made you realize, oh my gosh, this is totally what I need in order to access my own clarity, confidence, courage?
Like you said, you were playing with all of that in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great that we can have all that brainstorming time and have those thoughts. But I've found just throughout my life, personal and professional, is that if you don't write it down, it just ends up in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the greatest memory anymore either. And I will forget, where I was yesterday if I don't write some things down. And so knowing that you had a framework that would
Mm-hmm.
actually help me walk through
Mm,
some of these areas that I
right.
was dealing with. And like I've mentioned before, just entrepreneurship it's an animal of its
Mm-hmm.
own, and it's 95, 99% mental. It's a mental game.
Mm,
And for me, at least for me, and um, whatever I can use to help me, that's
mm-hmm.
going to help guide me and make those decisions. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am 100% willing to try because, I am the one who can really only stop myself. There are other aspects, like
Mm-hmm.
finances and maybe people saying no, but
Mm-hmm.
I can keep going. I can
Mm-hmm.
find a different road to keep going. But I have found in my walk as an entrepreneur that I'm the one who's been stopping myself from doing mostly everything.
Mm-hmm.
My limiting beliefs of what I'm
Mm-hmm.
capable of or what's possible have
Mm-hmm.
stopped me. And
Mm-hmm.
so that this tool, the 3 C's, really helps you break past that and gives
Mm-hmm.
you that clarity, that confidence, and that courage to actually take that action. And so I loved the framework. I also love how you had said that, you know what you need to do, you're just not taking action on it yet. So that
Mm-hmm.
courage piece just hasn't really, come to fruition yet in the actual
Mm-hmm.
like completion of action. And I think in our world, it's so tough because we are like just action motivated. Like we can do it. You said it. Like the courage piece is a neat part for us. But I think the hard part
Mm-hmm.
for us is to like understand that clarity and that confidence, but to really recognize like now may not be the time. I just need to sit here and think about
Mm-hmm.
it more. And so you can keep approaching that thought with that clarity and that confidence and know that the courage is coming. And you could even write the courage piece of like, oh, that would be a
Mm-hmm.
step that I would do to be a courage piece. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not something that I'm going to do right now, which then
Mm-hmm.
creates for me at least a little bit of peace knowing like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is the next step that I could take.
Oh, I love that. Wow. We could talk. I think we could talk all morning. This is so
We
invigorating to
could.
me. I love it. So I think as we start wrapping up here, one of the questions I love asking all my guests is, what are your morning rituals?
Wow. Well, like I said, I am a morning person
Mm,
for sure. I'm up a little bit earlier than you just because I have to get things in the morning. If I want to get them done, I
yeah.
found that the only time in day, especially because I turn into just a sloth at night, is that I need to wake up early. So I'm usually up around like 4 to 5:30
Oh,
in the
wow.
morning. And so I
Yeah.
I used to do 4 a.m. a lot. That was easier when my daughter was getting up around 3:30 in the morning. I was like, well, I might as well just be up now. Now, thankfully, she usually sleeps in a little bit later. So my alarm clock is set for 4:45 currently,
Wow.
but my body will wake up at like 4:30 naturally and just be ready to go. And that's just, again, I know it's weird. Some people are listening and probably thinking, what? That's crazy. But that's how I'm made. If you're a night
Yeah.
person, you have your own hours.
Yeah.
But for me, I get up, around that time early so I can have
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 hours to myself before anybody gets up because I don't get my me time a lot. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's my me time. So I make sure that I have that time in the morning because when I don't, I am a little on edge during the day if I don't have that. So I recognize
Mm-hmm.
that and make sure that it happens. And a little tip, I actually got a regular alarm now. I do
Mm-hmm.
not use my phone anymore because, when you look at the screen, that blue light, I believe it's blue light, will mess up with your brain and then you can't fall back asleep for like another
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes or it's really hard. So I
I
have
didn't know that.
I have an old school alarm now
Mm,
where I will, if I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or whatever it is, I'll just take a peek at that and it doesn't bother me at all. And so that way I can get up early. And
yeah.
what I do after I get up is I just head my way down to my couch and
Mm,
I spend time in my Bible and I have
mm-hmm.
a devotional. And then right now I'm reading through the Bible and chronologically, which is really cool. It's something I've never done before. So I can see how
Mm,
the events happened. And so I spend about a half hour to an hour doing that every morning
mm,
and spend time in prayer. And so that really sets,
mm,
that pace for the day and the peace for me. When I don't have that, the day
mm-hmm.
is out of sorts. And so I make sure that I do that.
Mm,
When I don't have a bunch of work stuff to do, I will try to squeeze in a half hour of a workout and really get my body moving. I used to
mm,
be so much better about that. Just my
mm,
daughter's in a crazy stage right now, being young. She's a year and a half. And so
right.
it's not working as well as it used to be. So
Yes.
figuring that out, it'll come back. But
Yes.
when I can, I get that in, or I will get a half hour walk in when I drop off the kids. But before they wake up, so I do my devotional, my Bible time, then I will start my work. I operate with my brain the best in the morning. Like if I wouldn't be interrupted from 4:30 in the morning until noon, I mean, I could blast through everything in my day because that's my energy time. And so I get about an hour to an hour and a half of work done before everybody gets up, because that's going to be like my quality work that I need to get done during the day. And so that just ensures that I feel good in the morning and I'm not walking into my day anxious and feeling like I have all these balls up in the air. And it doesn't always work that way. I mean, I got up early this morning and did my morning routine, but I have a lot on my plate today. So I still felt a little bit of that pressure. But I mean, if I slept in until 6:30 and then the kids got up at the same time as me, I would feel way worse than I do right now. So yeah, the morning is like my blessed sanctuary time for me.
I love that. Yeah, it makes me think about my morning this morning, and I was on the back patio with a really great devotional book that I loved, and I turned on my fountain, and just my dog came up and sat next to me. I had my cup of tea. I mean, it was just this beautiful moment of, and this is the way I want to start my day. Like, I don't even want to touch courage. I don't want to touch any steps without making sure that I'm fueling up with my clarity of who I want to be, how I want to step into these spaces, and then checking my beliefs around my confidence. Then I'm like, well, I'm raring to go. I already know my calendar's set. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of action for me to take for the day. My calendar's set. What I'm really trying to do is spend some time in that first part to say, how do I want to show up well for my day? How do I want to show up well for all the different fun appointments that I have today? And what do I need to refuel for that? And to be able to have that space. And I did get a chance to work out too. So that was able to let my body move and just be able to enjoy some of that space before I jumped into it. And having some of that, you can see where I'm going with this, is having some of that me time before you stepped into we time. It allows you to really step into those spaces well with so much of who you want to be and offer the essence of who you want to offer.
Yeah, I 100% agree. When I have my me time in the morning, I am up before my kids get up. So if my son, crawls out of bed, I'm right there on the couch, like super excited to see him.
Yeah.
Or I have the opportunity to walk into his room with like a big smile and say, hey, buddy, it's time to get up, and, give him love and kisses. And the same thing with my daughter. And like, I get to bring a huge, bright smile and piece of joy for them for the day. And like, that's what I want. And I have a friend who's been on my podcast, Mick White, and he learned somewhere, and I don't know where it was, that there's 9 important minutes to your child's day. And it's 1 is in the morning. So it's 3 minutes in the morning, and then the 3 minutes when they come home from school, and then the 3 minutes before they go to bed. And so like, I get to provide my children with those like 3 joyous minutes right away when they wake up in the morning. I mean, that's the best thing that I can offer them.
I love that. Makes me think of my 18-year-old son who was jetting off this morning to his job. He's living with me for the summer, but he came and found me in our home gym, and just to say goodbye. And I thought, wow, it's so interesting to me. He's a grown man now, but wanting to make that connection with me in the morning. And I was so glad I was home to be able to just say, see you later, son. Have an awesome day. Can't wait to hear how it goes. And then he looks forward to connecting with you when we get home. But I think it was a pattern we established in our childhood. So even when he comes and lives in the home with me as an adult person, he's finding me in the morning. He's finding me after he gets home. He doesn't need a whole lot after that, but I can see that connection point is really important for him.
That's beautiful. I love that. I hope that stays the same for me and my kiddos.
It will. And I think that's why I'm mentioning it. I think once you start that pattern, it becomes part of that nurturing adult relationship where it's a natural piece. And I'm very cognizant of the fact, I'm like, I don't really want to go on a walk because I know he's getting up here in a few minutes and I want to say goodbye to him, and so I'm trying to stay kind of around. But I think you kind of live with some of that awareness that when you offer it to your kids, you're going to instill it in them as adults. So that adult relationship, and I've got an 18-year-old and 20-year-old now, and I'm such great friends with them. So I think I want to affirm that with you. It's like those 3 minutes, I'd never heard that, but yeah, that really resonates. And you can then go off and run and do all your stuff that you want to do. But if you're really being intentional, you talk about clarity, confidence, and courage about how you step into those spaces. And it could be, even if it's not your kids, your spouse or your roommate or anyone you're living with, giving them the 3 minutes in the morning, that 3 minutes in the afternoon, and maybe even the 3 minutes before they go to bed. I don't know, but it's that real intentional awareness of how you're choosing to live with people and create the space and the relational connection that we all crave.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to remember you for that.
I think so. Yeah. And talk about taking the pressure off. Think about all the pressure we live with as moms. And I'm like, all I need is 3 minutes. I think I nailed that, Erica. I'm patting myself on the back. I was worried about all these other stuff. And I'm like, wow, I nailed those 3 minutes. I didn't realize how important that was. So may that be encouragement to all our listeners out there, whether you have young kids, older kids, or no kids at all, but being able to step into that space and give people that 3 minutes in the morning. And even if it's something that just allows you to connect with I think humans in the way that is probably the most meaningful. I think that's powerful. Mm-hmm. Well, Erica, it's been so fun. I look forward to our paths crossing again, and I'll be watching you from a distance, and I know you're watching me too. So I guess I want to leave our listeners with where can they find you? Where can they get more of what you're offering? And you talked about a lot of different projects you have going on. So I think some listeners out there, their ears might have perked up on certain things. So I would say, where can they find you and find out more about you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. I will continue to stay connected with you, Heather. This has been just such a treat. Like you said, we could talk for hours. We're two deep introspective women, and man, we could go for hours on this. But where anyone could find me, so on all social media platforms, it's Faith and Gather. So that's Faith and then AND Gather. And so you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and now Threads and Pinterest. You can find the Faith Inspired podcast on all major podcast platforms. So Apple, Spotify, and then all those others that are now out there. So again, it's a Faith Inspired podcast, and you can get all the information that you need connecting to the Daily Reflections Journal, the Stress to Joy Transformation course, the podcast, blogs, anything and everything working with me one-on-one. That will all be at faithandgather.com.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Erica. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We had such a great time today. And obviously, we are all stepping into this life that we're made for. But isn't it nice to have a little bit of support along the way? If you want to find out more about the life that you're made for, come find me at heatherpenny.com. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a review. That really helps us out and helps spread the word. You get to step into the life that you're made for. Cheering you on.